So I wanted to share two things. Me and my wife, we were in the Philippines. We were there for a wedding, but while we were there, we decided to visit our community there, and it was a very nice visit, um, impressive in many ways, and so I thought it would be nice to share uh, um, our experiences, and then I also wanted to talk about the pledge, the family pledge, number 5. Actually, when I was younger, my favorite pledge. It's the shortest pledge. Yeah, but yeah. So let's talk about the Philippines. Um, so we were gone for 2 weeks, and I've learned the difficult way. It has happened that I have traveled abroad, and I haven't been here for Sunday service, and my mom gives me a very angry phone call. She says, "Why are you not here?" So I'm not in Sweden. Why? You're supposed to be here. So I've learned to communicate clearly to people. And this time I communicated well in advance that we were leaving and not being here. And so it was approved by my mother. It's nice. So we were in the Philippines. We were there for a wedding. Our second-gen friends. It was Alex Stacy, if you know him. He got married with a Filipino sister. And so we were uh, one out of 2 couples that actually made it to the wedding. So he was very grateful that we could come. And so this picture here specifically is from a place called 100 Islands. And it's we're standing by, on the exactly behind us is actually an enormous Jesus statue that is placed on a small island. That's like a hill. So it's a very spiritual place, a very beautiful place. And it was very much an adventure to go there. It's also a very culture shock to be there. In Sweden, we are very lagom in many ways. We're very lukewarm. We're not very extreme in many things, which I love that. This is not a attack against Swedish culture. I love the jantelagen, you know. It's so comfortable. Nobody needs to stick out. Just one out of many. But in the Philippines, it's quite extreme. So there you have extreme poverty. You have extreme spirituality. Very Catholic there. And then it's also at the same time extremely, they have the highest teenage pregnancy in the world and huge drug problems. And then at the same time, it's incredible poverty, but then at the same time, it's incredibly bountiful. We were at the hotel we were staying at for the wedding. One day I wanted to have I think it was a milkshake or something like that. And so on the menu, I asked, is it fresh mango? Because I want a mango fruit shake, because they have the best mangoes in the world. I said, no, it's from powder, but we can make it fresh. I said, oh, great. Okay, well, it's not on the menu. What's the price? And it was cheaper than the not fresh mango. I said, this is very strange to me. And so I asked, how is that? And she looked at me like I'm stupid. And she's like, well, because the powder we have to buy in the store, but the mango we just go and pick ourselves. And so and it's so funny, her face, like I was stupid. And my friends made fun of me. Because it's so ironic, isn't it? Right? So that's a culture shock for me, right? And for her, right? With this ridiculous question. And so it is a mindset, a difference in mindset. So we had it has so many adventures, and you're very welcome to ask me or Daniela from our many adventures in the Philippines. But I didn't want to talk about our adventure. I want to talk about our visit to the communities there. So this is a nice picture. It is so the couple to the right this is the couple getting married, It's not the best picture of Alex. I'm sorry about that. But it's the only picture I have with Boniface and that couple. So Boniface, he's the one in the middle there. He's our Filipino friend from 10 years ago when we were there with Johannes and Johan doing the Philippines project. And so Boniface was helping out then. So I was going to the Philippines and I thought it would be nice to visit the community. So I wrote to Boniface, could you please set things up? And he was so happy we were coming. And so we joined for the Sunday service there. And then we joined the next day because we were only 2-3 days in Manila. And then the next day we went to see the school complex they have there. And so, yes, that's Boniface. Fascinating name, Boniface, isn't it? I remember when he told me the first time, I thought he wasn't serious. But that's his name, Boniface. So we had a very nice Sunday service. It's quite different from ours. I don't know what I was expecting, but I was expecting something super stiff. I don't know why. Usually when I go to Asia, the Sunday services are very rigid and they're very traditional, to put it like that. Yeah. I hope I didn't offend anyone when I said that. But this Sunday service was it was spiritually quite alive. So they mixed in the Chonchen one into the Sunday service. And the sermon was about love, forgiveness, and grace, which is, I think, such a great topic. Because, we practice these high ideals and values, they're very hard to live up to. And so when we do fail, which I'm sure most of us do, then it's hard. It's hard to accept it ourselves. And then when we meet our community, it's even harder to be accepted by some members here. And so they were sharing this message, and I thought that was so beautiful because, I don't know, it's something that I find myself, when I've traveled abroad, it's usually something that I try to emphasize, right? Because I get usually a platform to speak, and then usually what I do, if I find that the community is too rigid, I share where I failed and where I'm now. And it helps to overcome some of these difficulties. But I didn't have to do any of that. I just came and I felt so much love and embrace by this Sunday service. So this is a picture of after the Sunday service. They had a youth meeting, and where they asked us to share something, and it was very nice. So this is a small group of young people that want to connect. So they meet every Sunday after Sunday service. So that was Sunday service. The next day, we went to see the schools. And so we were guided by, this is Ronnie. This is the national leader of the Philippines. And so you can see the building around. So Ronnie's the national leader, and he's quite young. I think he is, well, for being a national leader in Asia, even more so. He's in his late 40s, and he was very youthful, very fun person to be around. And I got in touch with Boniface, but I also wrote to our my central figures. So I wrote to the Angeluccis, who actually used to work in the Philippines. They were like pioneers in the Philippines, so they have a legendary status there. So I wrote to them. I didn't know that. I wrote to them, I'm going to the Philippines. Do you know anyone I should meet? And then suddenly a bunch of Filipino leaders were like writing to me, because they were like, oh my God, if the Angeluccis wrote them about our visit, then it's like, that's big. So Ronnie took his time with us and showed us the school. So this is the school. They have around 500, 600 students, which is not a big school in the Philippines, but out of those that are second gen are 30. So it's a quite popular school, and it's a very good school because they do teach family values, which we teach, right? And so parents are very happy to send their students to our school, and it's quite an exclusive and good school. Um, these are the principals. This building is the new English school for missionaries. So all the Top Gun missionaries, and I think also future UPA missionaries, will go to this building here and study English before they head off. The gentleman to the left was actually at the same blessing as ours. And when he saw it, he was like, "Oh my God, you guys were the representative couple." I was like, "That's important." And so, very nice to also reconnect with him. We also we went to another church. The pastor here to the right, he was actually the one who married Alex and the second gen sister from the Philippines. And then we had some nice lunch. So this was a very nice visit. I was so happy that we could meet some students and meet the teachers there. Very inspiring. Felt very uplifted. So here you see Boniface, Ronnie, and us. And if I asked you what the food was here, I bet you could only say the rice. Because the food in the Philippines is amazing. But it's, as I call it, a black hole of culinary expertise. So here in the bottom you have like a pita panna. Is it too harsh? There are no Filipinos here. I hope I'm not offending them. In the bottom here is, I love food, so for me it's a big deal. And sometimes I saw a menu and I couldn't order because it was all perplexingly weird, right? I just couldn't understand these dishes. Anyways, in the bottom is like a pita panna with like peanuts and I think some seafood. The soup is a watermelon soup. The top is a octopus thing, which was actually very nice. And then there's some garlic rice and rice. So, all in all, amazing fruit, amazing vegetables. The food scares me. I don't know why I'm sharing this. I'm not sure if this is inspiring or important for you to know, but it's important for me to share it. So we had a very nice visit in the Philippines, and yeah, my biggest takeaways is really this. The Sunday service that we did go to was incredibly inspiring, and it showed me to not be afraid of spirituality, which we in Sweden are lukewarm, lagom Sweden, can be challenging. It can be challenging to do more or be different and all these things. Yeah, so that was my visit in the Philippines. You're welcome to ask me, Daniela, if you want to hear about our adventures. We were in car crashes. We did all kinds of things. Very exciting. So, I also want to talk about the family pledge. So the family pledge goes as follows. Our family, the owner of Chunulguk, pledges to strive every day to advance unification of the spirit world and the physical world as subject and object partners by centering on true love. So, I mean, for those of us who grew up in this community, this is something like, if I hear the first part of the sentence, our family, the owner of Chunulguk, pledges strive. If I hear the word strive, I know the rest of the pledge. All right, this is like wired into me, but I actually don't really know what any of the pledges mean. So I studied this pledge a little bit, number 5, and it is very interesting to look at closely. And for the elder members here who were introduced to with the pledge as adults, maybe it's a bit different. Maybe you looked at it and tried to understand it. And like, what's the significance of this? And then you did with your children. However, in my family, we actually never properly went through the pledge, right? Like the Tongil song that we sang in Korean. I didn't really know what I was singing because we sang it in Korean and English. And it was first, when I learned English, that I understood what the lyrics means. Right? And the same with the family pledge. It's first as an adult, as I'm looking at the pledge, that I try to understand and break it apart. So, the family pledge. So it goes like this. Our family, the owner of Chunilaguk. And so, here's the first one. What does Chunilaguk mean? So, I found this very good explanation. So, Chun, and the Korean and sisters, you're welcome to correct me here if there's something incorrect here. The character Chun means heaven and consists of the characters two and people. The concept of Chun Il-guk means the land where two, man and woman, parents and children, brothers and sisters are horizontally united with each other. So our family, the owner of Chunilaguk. So we need to become owners of the country, which is Chunilaguk. Let's proceed. Pledges to strive every day. And striving every day is saying that it's not a moment or point in time, but rather a continuous effort and a continuous strife. It's like integrity is not a moment you have, but rather a continuum of effort and gratification. To advance unification of the spirit world and the physical world speaks to, first, the advance the unification speaks to the fact that the spirit world and the physical world is not united. And what does that mean? I don't know if this is interesting to you to go through the pledge, but I find it fascinating. So bear with me. To advance unification. So this speaks to the fact that they're not unified and they should be unified. And so those of us who are members here know that we always seek unity, right? And we always try to bring things together. That's what we've called the Unification Church. And the world was meant for the spirit and the physical world to be united, for us to receive inspiration, conscience, and heavenly support. And that's what it speaks to the spirit world and the physical world. And the spirit world is that of inspiration, and the physical world is where we manifest that and can work on that. And subject and object partners. Usually when I've shared this with the missionaries a few times, but the external should reflect the internal. Which means when you set a goal and we try to achieve something, if the internal is not in place, the external will not fall into place either. And so when we go about our day and we worry too much about materialistic things or how tired I am, or I don't like my work, I don't like XYZ, we sometimes forget the spiritual aspect of our lives. And I find myself many times going to work thinking I can fix my life by having a better salary, by changing my circumstances, like having a more comfortable bed or a warmer clothes or eating healthier food or all of these things. But if I don't have the prayer life to invite God into my life, to give me the integrity, I actually lose the spiritual aspect of my life that gives me life elements. And I struggle with the point of life elements because it's not something tangible. It's not something I can prove. It's not something I can touch or feel. But there are moments in my life where I feel extreme bliss and extreme connection with God and our true parents. And those moments, there's not a doubt in my mind that those are the reasons I feel well and I feel good and I feel inspired. Yet, when I'm at home and I'm watching Netflix all night and then I feel terrible, I'm perfectly comfortable. And as I shared before, I love food, so I eat delicious food, healthy food. But for some reason, I'm not fulfilled. For some reason, I'm not satisfied with life. And it's kind of, in some ways, this aspect of spiritual life, it can come and creep in and haunt me a little bit, because when I know that I'm not inspired, it's because I'm not doing something that I'm supposed to. I'm not living with the integrity that I'm meant to be living. So this aspect of the subject and object partners is actually to focus on the internal, which is in this sentence, the spirit world, and let it manifest in the physical world. And not the other way around. My materialistic situation will not fix my internal despair. Yes. And that by centering on true love. So I had a conversation a few years ago with the then National Leader Matthew Hewish, and we were talking about Scotland disconnecting from the UK. And I said, what a terrible thing if they left, because then you would no longer have unity. And he said, unity based on what? All right. This aspect of doing things centering on true love, right? By having the intention of expressing love in the actions I have, is core and essential. So, if we read all of this, our family, the owner of Trönlaguk, people that horizontally connect to each other, vertically connecting to God, in this nation, right? Be citizens of this nation that do this, acts in such a way, pledges to strive every day, it's a continuous effort, to advance unification of the spiritual and the physical, taps into our inner spirit and soul, to practice manifesting our lives by centering on true love. So I think it's a very beautiful, beautiful pledge that we make. And one reason I've had this conversation with many members, why don't we read the Family Pledge every Sunday? And I think reading the Family Pledge every Sunday could be very beautiful. However, a reflection on my own, when I read the Family Pledge, because I was raised to read the Family Pledge, we did this Anshil, we did this every Sunday for many years, right? And we did it in a numb fashion, right? And it doesn't give credit to what the words actually mean. So actually reading the Family Pledge can be something very beautiful. And I would be surprised if someone in here didn't support something like this. And so this is something that we can practice and should practice. So I encourage each one of you, when you do read the pledge, to actually look at what it means. So perhaps when you're about to read the pledge, read it before. So when you do read it, you read it with the spirit and gusto that it deserves. Yes. So that's what I wanted to share today. I'm sorry that the pledge was the shortest pledge. I wish it would have been more than one sentence, and I would have been more content to share about. But this is the pledge for today. So thank you.